is our Rose Knockout Petite, which is a mini version of the Knockout. This variety, this is our third year having this variety. It is a more short, compact version of the Knockout, which is good. You can use them for patios, or you can use them in those areas that you don't want the rose to get too big. The most average size for this variety you can see around is going to be 18 inches in height, as well as 18 inches in width. It is for over here. They said when you get it at home in your landscape, you can just deadhead the roses. You get continuous blooms out of your roses. It usually says use your snippers. It doesn't really recommend using shears, even though we might have to do that over here because of the huge amount of quantity we have here. But like I said, it's really great for patios. But like I said, either than that, we got some good numbers of this still available. And as you can see, we have a nice clean row and crop coming along. Next picture, please. All right, the Corey Dallas Canary Feather. This is variety here. It has a beautiful yellow, stunning, like spike-like flowers to it. This variety mostly blooms in the late spring, going up into the summer. This variety right here, the picture you see this on the left is our current picture of this variety. As you can see, it's very lush. Has more of a lime green foliage to it. Jeff will do a light trimming on this, basically getting rid of the dead foliage. You won't do a heavy trim on this. As you can see, the reason why, you can see some small buds coming up on this variety. This variety, we keep them in minimum heat. It is a variety that does take a little while to wake up from its natural crop outside. So Jeff keeps it in a minimum heat to give it a head start. And as you can see, it's got some really good clean foliage to it already. We will wait till at least the temps are at 38 degrees at nighttime on a regular basis before we start moving these into the current, because they are kept at minimum heat. We don't really let them go truly dormant, so it's not really seasoned for outside. So you have to make sure we keep an eye on that for nighttime temperatures. We want it to be consistent at least for 38 degrees. Once that's ready, then we'll move this crop to current, and then your customer should be really happy with this because it's almost going to be 2-3 weeks ahead of whatever's outside. Next picture, please. Now the Helleborus, I gave you right here basically a picture. You can scroll down. This is a picture of the entire crop that I have outside. This is looking very nice right now. Basically, the Helleborus is considered to be the first flower of the season, which is very good. This is the only variety. As you can see on one picture, you still see some snow on it. This variety is incredible. The very first selection we have is the variety called the Frost Kiss. Now, this variety has two advantages to it. First advantage it has to it, it has a very beautiful variegated foliage. Once it's done blooming, you have this beautiful natural variegation of foliage in your landscape. The second advantage of this variety, the Frost Kiss series is more of your later bloomer compared to the rest of the Helleborus. Most of the Helleborus will start blooming like basically naturally, depends upon where it is, after Christmas going into January. The Frost Kiss is a variety that more blooms in the early, going to close to the early spring. So that way, if you get both varieties in your landscape, you'll have two varieties of Helleborus that's blooming at the same time. But once again, like I said, as you can see, this picture represents the pictures you see mostly on the left is what this crop actually looks like right now. As you can see, they are starting to get some buds and some little tiny flowers on them. They start way up the bottom and then they make their way all up to the top. So you have that top flower to it. So like I said, and also too, you probably want to try to get these things on the truck as soon as we start shipping, and also of course once we release it, because Jeff tends to put these varieties in the cooler just to slow it down. But basically, the quicker we get it out, the quicker we don't got to double handle it. Because Jeff has a saying here that the more we handle something, the more that plant costs. So, but like I said, Helleborus got some good pictures for you and some good varieties and colors. Next picture, please.
So I pulled up 3 different varieties of Itea for you: the Fountains of Rouge, Henry's Garnet, and Love Child. They're all pretty similar, all native deciduous to semi-evergreen shrubs, flowering shrubs. And they can be, they're mostly used for wet areas. They're really good on stream banks or wherever you have some kind of marshy area. The reason for that is because they're a native plant. This specific species is a native plant to the eastern US, southeastern US. The roots are going to dig a little bit deeper. They're going to be more of an erosion control type of plant. They have fantastic fall color. So you get the white flowers in the spring and summer. And then you get a really nice orange to burgundy color, depending on the variety, for the leaves in the fall. It's similar, it's an alternative to the burning bush, but that one is not native to the US. So if you're looking for a native plant, because again, we are going to drill that into everything. This is a great native plant that we still have a lot of plants left for you to sell out of these. So if you want to just click through, look at different varieties, Henry's Garnet here, another great fall color picture there. Again, you have that spring and summer flower that you have a really good garden variety, and then you have the fall variety also. And the Love Child, this one's probably my favorite just because of the burgundy that it turns into in the fall. Really deep, pretty, and you still have those white flowers in the spring.
And the Love Child is one of our newer varieties. This will be our second year having this variety right here.
These are pretty much going to tolerate any kind of sun exposure that you put them in. You can put them in shade, you can put them in sun. They're going to do whatever they need to do to get those flowers in a fall color for you. They do get the fall color a little bit better as long as they have 4 to 6 hours of sun per day. And next slide, please. Some fun facts, just like we did last week. The Itea comes from the Greek word meaning willow. Itea blooms on previous season's wood. So once we get these out and they actually have growth on them, that's when we're going to send them. Because if you trim them back before then, they are just going to stay dormant. Native plants throw roots that grow deep into the soils where they're native to. They can act as erosion control and prevent flooding in those areas. There are 18 total species of Itea, but only one of those is native to Eastern North America. All parts of a hellebores are toxic. So if you have it on your skin, it could cause skin irritation. Don't eat them. I don't think we would eat them anyways, but don't. They're seldom fatal, but they can cause illnesses and irritation. Hellebores do not have petals, but they do have sepals. The sepals protect the small, insignificant petals. So even though it looks like it's flowering petals, those are not actually petals. Native plants are trending, and here's a big reason why, other than pollination. You can see on the far left, there is the turf grass, how deep those roots go. They're not very deep at all, but the different types of perennials and native plants that we have are going to dig real deep into the ground, and they're going to soak up a lot more water, which is going to prevent erosion and flooding in the future. So this is why another reason why we're so big on different types of native plants.
So we are going to be talking about the American Beauty series, which they're all in a 3-gallon. As Kaylin mentioned, I think last week you may have mentioned it. The American Beauty series is all native plants and big on pollinators, but we're pushing heavy into the tree side of natives. So all of these varieties are the straight variety. So Liriodendrons, Lipifera. I know we have a couple other varieties that change what the habit is, but this is just a regular. Keep in mind that even though there's a 3-gallon tree that you're getting, they do still get fairly large. And I know in my woods back by Oberlin, walking through there, you'll see a ton of these things. So they do really well in clay, watery areas. I'm sure you've seen them all over the place out there too, Jeff. Next picture is the
One thing to keep in mind with tulip tree is it is, like Jeff said, it will get tall and get 90 foot. The other thing is this is not a tree like an oak that is a hardwood. This is more of a softwood. So this is something you want to put far away from your house, just due to the fact that once it gets about so big, it will start to break up. So that's one thing to keep in mind with some of this material.
And the straight Cercis canadensis, also in the 3-gallon. It's not get as big, not so much the ornamental, but still a smaller size, 30 by 35. Bees will throw off a nice pink flower, and in the springtime. And then you'll get your foliage, which will then turn into the fall foliage. So you get 3 seasons of good color. The red buds, if you don't know, they do have a different shaped leaf, almost like a heart. So if you are looking for something a little bit different in that aspect, keep these in mind. But same thing, pretty much grow just about anywhere. And lastly is the Betula nigra. I don't think we grow this in anything other than a 3-gallon anymore. So if you are looking for a nigra, this is your only option with the AB program. These are a single stem, not a multi-stem. So also keep that in mind talking to your customers.
So Niagara is river birch. Heritage is a selection of river birch. There are other named varieties out there. Usually what they're looking for when they're selecting things is something that adds either a different color on the bark and are different tolerances as far as heat and so on. One of the things to remember with river birch in general is it's a lot less susceptible bronze birch borer, which on Jackmani and just regular birch, which is European birch, they're extremely susceptible. Jackmani is not quite as susceptible, but it does give bronze birch borer.
As far as native plants go, I know when I first started in the industry a long time ago, everyone wanted native plants. And I was like, I don't know what the hell a native plant is. So I gained some knowledge over the years. So I figured anyone that's newer that does not know, here's a little bit of information about what it means. So native plants should be defined as those who, or that have evolved and adapted to a specific location and have remained genetically unaltered by humans. So that's why you're seeing the straight variety of these plants that we're talking about. This definition does take into account time and place as well as the human element. It's also implied connection between generations through a shared evolutionary ancestry. Plant that occurs naturally in the area where it is evolved. So as I mentioned on the Liriodendron, they're all over my woods. I know I didn't plant them, they're just there. Native plants are important because they do pollinate and provide food for the native butterflies, insects, birds, and other animals. They do not require fertilizer and they require fewer pesticides. So that might be another turn on for some of your more greenhouses, garden centers, that kind of stuff. They do grow deeper roots than grass. So as you mentioned, it helps prevent flooding and sucks up more of that water. And native plant gardens and yards decrease pollution from mowers and other equipment.